approve the agenda and meetings.
I will second.
Bill with the motion, Brown with the second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, approval of the August 28th, 2023 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the August 28th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Second?
Brown with the motion, Bill with the second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, reports and updates. Item A, updated 5-year capital improvement plan.
Yes, thank you. So this is the updated 5-year capital improvement plan I'm bringing to you just to show you both transparency through what has been updated. We've had a few shuffles between priority changes and needs starting to rank a little bit higher than others. Essentially, when I do that, they do stay on the capital plan. They may just find themselves in the following project year. And that all kind of aligns between the absolute priority and need, as well as where we're at budget-wise, just to kind of keep it within fair play. I did want to just point out the most recent updates, excuse me, is the addition of the JV softball field revamp, which includes repairing and mending the field and repairing and replacing fencing. And the same goes for the JV baseball field as well. I should say that I believe, no, baseball's not in there, retract that statement. And the replacement of the DX unit number 2 here at the district office, which essentially lived out its life up until about midsummer. That one was actually on next year's, but I'm moving that up to this year's project. Sorry. Otherwise, everything, for the most part, has stayed true. There were just a couple other very little, I think there was a couple repair replacements that were moved, and that was essentially just for budget forecast.
I was gonna ask about the DX unit being moved, if there's a necessity more than.
Yep. Yep, yeah, the compressor is shot and the secondary is out, and it's an old unit. From what I had learned, there was a repair done to it a few years ago that was supposed to last a year. We've gotten a few years out of it, so that's good, but yeah, so I'll begin to get numbers on that.
And there were a couple items on the list that still were 2022, and some that were listed just as plan year 2023. Those need to be updated, or for instance, on Kenny.
Oh, yeah.
There's a couple. I just didn't know.
That one should have been removed and put on the completed list. I apologize for that.
No problem.
Is that the same with the boiler replacement one to it in the belt?
Yep, I left them on there. I think my initial, the reason why they're still on there, I think my initial thought process was I was going to start color coding them as they were eliminated from prior years and just kind of keep it an ongoing. But I debated only because of the fact that I didn't want it to get messy either. So I might just have a running document of what has been completed, because I guess you don't necessarily have to see it, but if we ever wanted to kind of look back at the past 10 years or something, we can kind of see the progression of the capital projects, which maybe I'll go that route. I think that's why that is still on there, so I apologize, I made the final decision.
It looks like there's an extra column still to the right on the Excel spreadsheet. Could you just put a completed column there?
Yeah, I can do that, definitely.
And I think whether they stay on the same list or not, it might be nice to have the completed ones on this list down on the bottom or something.
Sure.
But if the list for completions were a separate list by school, definitely by school.
Yeah.
So what I don't know, or I guess maybe it's here, but I don't see it. Did we add air conditioning at Kennedy Middle School over the summer?
Yes, we did.
I don't know if my mic is on, but the air conditioning at Kennedy Middle School isn't coming out of this fund.
Yeah.
This is the capital improvement fund, which is
Oh.
Fund 41. So you won't see it on this list. if it was on this list for a different purpose, it should be removed. But if it is, it will never show up on the capital improvement fund
Okay.
41
There's
project
different
list.
funding.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's the ESSER, it's money.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Got it.
because this
It's
is
still-
approved by the board prior to the start of the year, obviously there's gonna be changes made to this throughout the year. If projects are coming in below, or if there's projects that need to be put in that weren't in there initially, the board will need to approve the changes. So this committee can either approve it for it to go to the board, or if, because there's no motion written on the agenda tonight, it can just go to the full board at the next board meeting, but it does need to be approved, because it then is submitted to the state.
Okay, so how do we account for the air conditioning getting done? Cause, you know, I wasn't here, a month ago for the building committee meeting, but I look at the agenda and that, and I didn't see it on there, anywhere. So I think it's gotta be there somewhere that we know it was completed.
Sure, correct me if I'm wrong, the air conditioning has not been completed. The approval of the air conditioning to be completed has been approved by the board. I believe it's going to be completed by the end of this coming summer, correct?
That's what,
Because we do have to spend our ESSER funds by, September 24. So yes, it should be done by this coming summer. The
Okay.
board did approve it, so we could be put on the project list from the company that's installing it, which is, out a ways.
So they couldn't get it done this summer, that's what you're.
Correct, they couldn't have been approved and got on the list and purchased all the items that need to be purchased. So the plan is to get it done by the end of next summer. We should create a list of all the projects that have been completed, no matter what fund is being
Yeah,
used.
right.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, okay, good. And roofing projects, are they, maybe I just missed them, but I think we had some roofing projects over the summer.
Yep.
Is it-
It's one of the items under, I think it's the high school. I know they have roof work done. I think that's what the section DE was, if I remember correctly. That was on.
Okay.
And then looking at 2023-2024 capital projects list, with the new additions of the field revamps and the replacement of DX unit here at the district office. The total, I don't recall what it used to be if something was taken off of this list, but our total for 23-24 capital projects is currently showing $510,000. We're budgeted appropriately for that.
So the list that was provided to and approved by the board was less than this amount. We are levying, for 23-24 school year is $500,000. So the the additional $10,000, we do have money in fund balance in Fund 41, carried over from previous years that did not spend the entire revenue. So going over the amount by the $10,000 will come out of the Fund 41 fund balance. I'm assuming these numbers are rounded and you hope to not go over them, so I'm assuming you might not get to that 510.
Any other questions from anybody? Moving on to 5B, work order report.
yes, this is a work order report, much of the same, I believe was the same time last year, I believe it was in September. Just bringing kind of a roundup of this last year. They run in calendar year for the majority of theirs, as far as their KPI reports and everything go. So I just kind of wanted to give a quick report on what we've seen over the last year. I do want to just point out once again that there are some, I don't want to call it skewed data, but there are variables that do skew the data. And without being repetitive in several ways here, I'll explain a little bit more further down here, but lack of staffing because of the way that our setup is in the program, being down 2, 3, 4 people, especially when it comes to 2 to 3 maintenance. that hurts us in a grand scheme of, you know, what might look like they're not doing their work when really we just don't have that person for that work at that time. And naturally, you're gonna get pushed back a few days at the least for work orders that might not be priorities or safety issues that could maybe wait until a break time or time where we can focus more on those type of smaller tasks. Rolling down the total number of work orders, as you see, that's 1,649. That's just a touchdown from the total of last year. I don't know why I didn't put it on here, but as of right now, we have 1,492 of those completed, with a few of the hangars. Well, the 100 or so are in work in progress, and then we have some that have been delayed until they're looked at for potentially a larger project or a summer project. Percent of work orders completed in less than a week. We dropped back 2% since the last report, which I'm not impressed by seeing this, but I do want to say something that I think after seeing a lot of this data that I need to push forward a little bit more is when work orders are submitted, if they're not submitted with a start date or a project date, when they need them completed by, it is immediately used, they use the submittal date. So if it's a work order that let's just say generally speaking, somebody calls me and tells me we have a pencil sharpener that needs to get up in this back room. No rush, but whatever you do. Okay, put in a work order, if you just put in a work order. It goes in, it's not a priority by any means, that could sit there for, you know, honestly, 3 weeks to a month until somebody goes to install it, especially day and age. But that's where if they wouldn't put a start date for, let's just say, 2 or 3 weeks, or you can even click one that is kind of a NA that doesn't take or extract that data then it kind of hurts and again skews the data of the 7 days or less. So they're not really work orders that need to be done in 7 days or less. That was really what we did. So as much as that is factual, there are I would say the majority, or just under the majority, did not have a start date used. So that's something I'm going to definitely be more transparent with staff and any of the requesters moving forward. Excuse me. Percent of work orders from request portal. This is all work orders entered by requesters. This is again, we're at 20%. This is running the full calendar year from January 1 to October 1st, which I believe then this next year we're actually going to exceed what looks to be our highest ever at the 21%. This is good. This is something that shows that the workers themselves don't have to put them in after they're being asked to do something, even though you will always have those. They're not considered requesters. I'm not considered requesters, so when somebody asks me to submit one, that's not even part of this data. I think, excuse me, part of what I'm getting at is we want to have the requesters have the power to put in and the ableness to put in their own work request.
So, can I ask you, so what should that number be? Like when you're looking at all of the items that are submitted, pencil sharpeners to the more, you know, the air conditioning is out or this is broken, those sorts of things. If you were to say, you know what, if we could get to X%, we're golden. This is like ideal. What should that number be?
As far as for the request portal, I would say from my experience, it should be somewhere around the 40 to 45%, because I will always be there to put in work orders. The technicians and custodians or lead custodians will always be there to put in work orders, and that's good. You do want a portion of that for various different scenarios, but it just seems like the general average of that 40 to 45% is ideal for having the requesters themselves submitting the work orders.
So currently the practice is if something needs to be done, it is told to the custodian, and the custodian then enters the work order, completes the job if it was in their purview, and then closes the work order. This is stating that people other than custodians or maintenance people or, the maintenance department, have entered it. That means 20% of that happened. We would like to roll out the process that anybody in the district would then say, I need something done in my room, my classroom, my office, and they would enter it themselves. That has not happened yet. We would like to roll that process out, and if that is rolled out, then we would see this number increase. Doesn't mean that the work orders aren't being entered, they're just not being entered by people that are called requesters in the system.
The ratio of PM work orders to work orders, that's pretty much corrective maintenance is what that means. We did go up 2% since the last report, which is good, very good. You always want to be on the right side of that tier. That means that we're starting to do more preventative maintenance and a little less reactive maintenance. So that is a positive one all around that I'm happy to see, and the goal set is that that continues to go up.
Correct, so in prior years, we didn't have preventative maintenance work built into the system. Now, for example, it will say every 3 months you have to change the air filter. So it's just a reminder, because otherwise it was just done as you saw fit, and some buildings might be changing it more frequently than others. So putting the PMs inside the system automatically reminds them, and then they would have to close it after they did the task. So obviously preventative maintenance would prevent us from having larger expenses in the future, hopefully.
Let's see, and the last one I have was just, I just wanted to highlight the percentage of PMs with or on equipment. We're at that 96%, which is very good. That pretty much means all of our HVAC and tagged equipment have some form or the proper preventative maintenance done to it throughout the year. And that's good. That goes into a much larger tracking system, which I'm going to try to create some reports of as well in the future to share. I just wasn't quite at that point to do so as of yet. But that is, that's very good. That's pretty much what I had for our report.
Any questions?
We're gonna have a personnel meeting later, and since you're talking about the work orders now, we do have the 2 vacancies. What do you anticipate, if those positions are full, your efficiency on filling those work orders?
I can tell you, I have been stressed out for a couple of months, to be honest, of not being able to get through them quite as fast as I would like to. Those 2 positions, one, the district maintenance role, that is absolutely vital to turning over work orders, just because of the fact we don't have a dedicated maintenance member to each elementary school, and even at this point, the middle school. So we've been using any high school maintenance that we can, almost as just a traveling maintenance tech, which is great, but they also have a large building with a lot of mechanicals to take care of right there at the high school. So that district maintenance is going to be a very, very big difference in the turnover rates with work order completion. And even the grounds maintenance tech, that's kind of a rover inside and outside for work requests as well. So I'm looking very much so forward to filling those. I can say that there's been a big email thread through the Metro Buildings and Grounds group that is pretty much all gripes about being able to getting solid maintenance members to join their team. All the way down the board, it's almost becoming a back and forth of, if you know somebody, or if you even know of somebody that would be interested. But with that, there's a lot of variables with it as well. Unfortunately, we just haven't had a lot of applicants within a very recent time period.
Moving on to 5C, 2023 Buildings and Grounds Summer Work Recap.
Yes, this is what I was referring to in the August building committee meeting. This list is pretty much an in-house projects layout, list of what we had done in 2023. This is the first year that this form, at least in my ability to locate, was put together. I do have some changes that I will make moving forward. I kind of left it an open working document forward for, I shared it with the entire team. And it got a little bit messy on what was necessary to put on there, what was not. And even making sure that they were following through, putting on projects that maybe weren't even on a work order. But you know, just a project at the time that had come up 1 day's worth even, that maybe should have been on there. So this is just identifying, I just wanted to be transparent on kind of what each building has completed through the summer on a annual basis. A lot of these, I'm not gonna say are repetitive, but the all-around trades of them are for the most part, between the painting and the revamps, replacements and that type of thing. So I think, again, it gets a little bit messy in my eyes, but moving forward, I'm gonna clean that up a little bit for better tracking purposes. Kind of everything that maybe nobody's well aware is done at the schools over the summer.
I think when I was looking through it, it does, I think we all kind of, having gone through the tours of the buildings and, you know, just becoming more and more familiar with them, seeing this list feels like it's probably still kind of a little bit of tip of the iceberg.
Yep.
But
Yep.
as you said, there's things not on here that's been done. Personally, I think we should figure out a way to share this with the community so they have an idea of truly how much goes into maintaining the buildings that they've helped pay for.
Definitely.
So if we can figure out a way to put on that. Plus also, to be honest with you, I forgot to check if the capital improvement plan was out on the website, but I think something like that too
Definitely.
should be shared, just so people can get an appreciation of,
Yep.
of all of the little things and big things
Yep.
that
Yep.
go into the work that you guys do, so.
Absolutely. Yeah, my second thought on this too, as well as adding kind of the contract work that was done over the summer, and a separate side of it, but just to kind of show all full encompassment of what's the summer look like at Germantown School District.
Yes.
I just wanted to add that Mr. Lord will be bringing a report similar to this report on what has been done between each meeting. So it would be our goal to have, unless otherwise needed, a Buildings and Grounds Committee every other month. And then so he would report on what happened or what projects. I'm gonna say it's not gonna be put the pencil sharpener on the wall type project, but what projects have been completed from the one meeting to the next meeting.
Questions, comments? There is no unfinished business, there is no new business under item 7. Item 8, adjourn. Take a motion.
Move to adjourn. I'll second.
Rose with the motion, Ron with the second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.